episode 6, I thought was like really cool too, because you get to like the Nancy and Jonathan moment that I've been waiting for. And so I thought that was pretty cool. So they get up there, they shoot this thing, and everything starts melting because that's what happens apparently when you shoot
Mhm.
unstable matter.
And
And
it's hot enough to melt everything around them, but not their bodies, which is super logical.
Oh, I
mhm,
didn't even think about.
Yeah. I think the reason why I get frustrated is
mhm.
because I think there was a lot of lazy writing this season. So that's why. But it was cool looking, kind of, I guess.
Yeah, I thought, the stakes of them potentially like dying. We didn't know, if we still don't know if someone's gonna die. So that could have been the moment that Jonathan died. Maybe he was gonna jump in and push her out or something like that. So I was waiting to see if that was gonna be Jonathan's death. Stuff like that. But instead it was something beautiful. And they're in there and they decide in their last moment to break up, which I think it's funny, and it's almost like a play on what you see in other things where, like, usually when people die, they confess their love. They die and they confess their dislike for each other. I find I find him more appealing when he is being a little bit more snarky and he has like more personality to himself and he's speaking up for himself.
Yeah.
So for him to be like, yeah, I hate your articles. They suck, and I don't like anything about you really. I felt like, yeah, that felt good to me. Me and Sarv talked about like our hopes for this season, and one of my hopes was that Nancy would end up with no one. And I
Yeah.
love that in that scene they not only validated that her and Jonathan don't need to be together,
But that
but
hurts.
that it was a trauma bond that felt comfortable, but
Yeah.
also that her and Steve don't need to be together either. And I love that. Yeah,
Yeah.
what did you guys think of that?
I loved it as it took. I was telling Starv at one point, it like took a while for it to dawn on me that it was a breakup. Like I felt at first I just took it as a break. Like,
Mm,
oh, for sure, like it's a
mm,
break and they'll revisit it if they'll like they're not gonna get married for sure. And they're not gonna like be more serious, but like they'll revisit it after. And then as I was like debriefing with Starv, I was like, no, that is clearly a breakup. I think I was just like, and I saw the discourse on it of like people don't know what like a nice, like healthy, emotive breakup
I
could be.
didn't read. I didn't.
Yeah.
Apparently, you're not the only one. And so I looked online. I didn't realize that people didn't recognize it was a breakup. For me, it felt pretty clear we were breaking up.
Well, to me, because at first I thought like, oh, we're just not gonna take the next step.
I think how you thought was fair though. I do think they're having to do a lot of interviews where they come out and have to clarify things to people, which I think is a note of like not great writing. I love the scene because it led to what I wanted for Nancy.
Right.
Um and I actually love how they acted it. I thought they both acted very wonderfully in it.
Mhm.
Mhm.
But I think you're right. Like I got that it was a breakup by the end, but I know I was like kind of getting confused over their dialogue, and I was like, "Wait, I don't understand."
But I think in talking about this, I think what did it is like them saying, I love you, Jonathan Byers, I love you, Nancy Wheeler, instead of saying, I'll always love you. Because when someone says, I'll always love you, it's like signifying that there's a shift, but I'll always still care about
Mm,
you. I think
okay,
the
that's fair.
present tense is what threw me off. Even
Mm,
That's
though it was
fair.
still
yeah.
beautiful, but I think that's what my guess is that's what did it for
And like
people.
you said, people aren't used to like healthy breakups. People are used to like being
Unfortunately.
like more upset breakups and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So I think, yeah, in those moments, I think you do have to spell it out. But something that happens pretty frequently is like when you're not ready to take the next step, that's usually when relationships end. For whatever reason,
That's
like
true.
when people are not willing to like kind of keep going, it's really never a break. It's a breakup.
Right.
And so I think Sarv's right. Yeah, anytime you have to explain things a lot, you do have to look in the mirror and wonder if that's you. Sometimes it's not you, but sometimes you do need to look in the mirror and say, like, okay, why is this happening repeatedly? But anyway, I think we all agree that was like really awesome to see. I think
It was
Nancy
beautiful.
needs to kind of do what she said, which is like figure out what she wants in this world outside of these like safe places. Both these guys are safe for her.
I do feel for the people that were really huge fans of them because they actually had a pretty big fan base.
Hmm.
But I mean, they said it in season 2 or the end of season 3 where they were like, "We're a trauma bond," and then they like compare their scars, and I was like, okay, it just seems like your guys are nothing but a trauma bond. I also really love the reiteration of the Steve part of it, which is like, I do think Steve is just like I do think he was just being a friend to Nancy. And so, like, I know there's, people feel different ways about that. But I'm glad that she called it out and she's like, he's a nice guy. But I really like that she was like, I don't want what he wants.
Mhm.
And so, and then I think just the word that they use when they use the word suffocating, I really loved that because
Mhm.
I
I
too
do
think
too.
that's how it was feeling for them. So,
Mhm.
I thought it was actually, hopefully later on as people get older or whatever, they can look at that scene. It wasn't like I
Mhm.
think the best written, but I think it was a really important message to set across that, like, just because you love, just because you have this bond, it doesn't mean it has to be romantic or you have to stay in it. You guys just have like shared trauma and you still
Well,
love each other. But
at first, like, I'm so glad with the outcome because that's what I wanted. That's what made sense for the characters,
characters.
for all 3 of their characters, to be honest.
Right.
But as they were
Mhm.
talking, it's like, "Oh, we stayed together because how would we explain this to other people what we've been through?" And, like, that's so formed us. And there was a part of me that, like, felt that on a deep level where I was almost like, "I feel like I know where this is going, but now I don't want you to break up," because, like, yeah, how would you? Like, you just have to, like, hide and lie about the whole rest of your life because no one's gonna believe you. Like, that sucks, and
Mhm.
that's so lonely, but then they also get into the suffocation, then I felt that too because it's like, the only thing that's keeping us together is this shared trauma. Like, "You don't even like my sweaters. You had to, like."
That was weird.
Okay, that was, like, so, like, "Do you even like this person?" That was so
That's
specific.
why I was like, it was basically like I like nothing about you. Like you cool, but I like
And
nothing
to be
about you.
fair to like the people that really love them, I could see how that would feel like too much to hear in a
Yeah.
breakup because it's I could see someone looking at them and be like, okay, so you're telling me this entire bond was like nothing.
Yeah.
And I
Mhm.
don't think
Mhm.
they were prepared for a breakup.
I
And I
hope that people don't take it like that. I think, yeah, it's gonna be one of those things where hopefully you can watch it now and then watch it later when you come back with more reflection and more maturity to be able to understand what just happened. What just happened is what you 2 just touched on, which is like, yeah, you can have, relationships that feel safe and that feel
Mhm.
good. You know, your first sometimes this could be your first, partner ever, right? And that feels like you guys have all these firsts together and they're so special to you and
Mhm.
everything still feels good. Like there's nothing wrong, like there's nothing, but sometimes just because everything's is okay, that doesn't mean that you don't have to settle for okay. Sometimes you
Mhm.
can go for something that feels better than okay. And I think for
Preach.
them, they were just settling for this kind
Mhm.
of warm comfort. And sometimes you have to step outside of your comfort zone. And I think it was important that they added that Steve part because I know the Steve fans is gonna be like, now it's Steve and Nancy's turn. And she made
And
it
then
clear,
like,
like, I don't want what he wants. And
yeah.
unlike Sarv, I do think that they were setting the seeds that yes, Steve is still very much into Nancy. And I think it was important for them to be like, it's not mutual.
Mm-mm.
It's
think
like
I just don't think he was doing anything crazy. I do think he's into her. And I would actually say I do think Nancy, the way she played it in season 4, I do think there are parts of her that are still attracted to Steve. But
Yeah.
just
for
like
sure.
Steve, I don't think she's doing anything. Just because you're attracted to someone doesn't mean you're gonna do
I think
anything.
he's doing stuff. He was clearly like the first 4 episodes racing this man up a tower.
Okay, so we can
Like
yeah,
so
that's the one scene
like
looking back that kind of feels really odd to me and like a little for me and a little out of place and unnecessary because it
Mhm.
just led to kind of nothing.
I think it was like the writers clearly showing you that Steve has something for her. I think they're doing it like intentionally and they wanted to put it in her face so that they can have this moment. That's just,
Right.
what I think.
And
But
I
then I'm
think that
like,
they
we know that from last season, so I don't need you to like wait. It just felt like a really pointless scene to me. But yeah,
I felt like it wasn't to show Steve was into her. I think it was to show more Jonathan and how, like, he wasn't
Yeah,
really
both. That's what I mean. Like both.
Jonathan in the beginning when Steve would do stuff and him and Nancy were good, wouldn't really react to Steve. You could tell he was, like, annoyed, but he wouldn't really react because he was, like, secure in their relationship. I think it was already, like, showing the cracks that he feels the need to, like,
Exactly.
posture and be macho. So I think it was
Mhm.
more to show the cracks before there were cracks.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
more,
I
yeah.
think 2 things could be true at once. I think they're showing you and Sarva's like, "Why?" Because they need to show you that what things are still in play 2 years later. So, like, they're showing you that, like, the Steve thing hasn't stopped, but now there's this new dynamic of Jonathan feeling like he needs to prove himself. But I ultimately neither guy proved themselves. Nancy wants to be alone, and I am
And I
happy for
love
her, and I hope that Jonathan goes fulfills himself, and, yeah, Nancy did try to gaslight me a little bit and say, "Oh, no, there's nothing with Steve," and we know she was definitely playing up some things with Steve, like, last season. this season. She be doing little things because I think, she's always gonna have a special spot for
Mhm.
Steve. But either way, that's over. I felt good about that. I'm glad she just threw his little ring to the side. And
But then
that's
there was a part of me that was like, "Keep it and you can pawn it for money."
I
I
mean,
don't
she
think
still
you're gonna
can.
have
It's
to
right
worry about
there.
money if the world is gonna end.
Well,
Sadly.
okay, but that's just where I'm at, okay?
It's still there. It can still be retrieved. It's right there. Unless the floor starts melting again, it's still there. Jonathan, the
But
one
I
that need to
just
go pick
think,
that
like,
up.
when they go back to real Hawkins, they're gonna need money, like, only Steve and Robin have jobs at this point,
Also,
Jonathan should be the one. He comes from like a family of poverty. He should go
I
pick up his own
yeah,
ring.
I will say from Jonathan, like a Jonathan fan perspective, I
Yes.
feel really bad. I do, because
Mhm,
Jonathan kinda has no one. And he had Nancy, and now he has no one. I think that's a failure in the show's writing, again, not the
Yeah.
character. Um,
Mhm.
but I know a lot of people always talk about how, like, mistreated Jonathan is, and I agree with them. Like, me and V have talked about if he was written in a different way, maybe with a different actor, um, he probably would have been one of our favorite characters. He has everything for me to be rooting for him.
mhm.
So it felt really sad in that moment, I think, to be like, oh, like, you don't really have anyone. And, I know someone can make an argument that Will and Joyce are there, but let's be honest.
Argyle is his friend, and he moved away from his friend. So I do feel
Yeah.
sad for that.
Happy they didn't keep Argyle around just because we don't need another character in this
I
scene.
think
True.
Argyle would have seen, like, what's happening and would have been like, "I'm getting the F out of here," like,
He
he's
did see what's happening, and he did get the F out of there. That's exactly what
there.
happened.
Wait, can we talk
Mhm.
about the stairwell fight? Is that episode 6 between Dustin and Steve?
I think maybe
Mm.
just my I think it would, because it's hard not to get into the specifics when we're talking about them. I think I would
Yeah,
prefer.
that's why I just was like, wait to leave it at the
Yeah,
Okay,
end.
then if we just
Okay.
leave it all for one Steve Dustin section, then we don't have to worry about the episodes because we could just talk about it.
okay, that's fair.
Yeah, that's why I've been,
Alright, so what else
skirting
happened
around
in
that.
this episode? Because that's all
Can
I
I
can
bring up something that made me
Yeah, go
really
ahead.
happy?
Uh-huh.
And it's the thing I truly thought they wouldn't give. I told V this. I was like, they gave me the one thing I thought I wouldn't get. And then
Oh, I think I know what you're talking
they didn't give me
Yeah.
so much that I wanted. But I've been thinking about it this entire time. I'm like, oh, Holly's such a little Mike Wheeler. Like, she just
Mhm.
is. And I just love that they're like, Max is in whatever that dream place that she's in, that limbo phase. And Mike is just right up, like, living rent free in her head. But I love that, like, more than anyone, like, the people that have been getting mentioned, and I would argue the people that had the most emotional reunions with her were Lucas and Mike.
Mhm.
I was not expecting. I'm not getting into the reunion because that's not this episode, but just the little where she's like, "Oh my god, stop pacing. You're like reminding me of your brother." Or she's like, "Actually, you are your brother." And I was like, "Girl, she's you. Like, you and Mike are like mirrors to one another." And I just love that. I think it's really interesting, and I think powerful in a way that, like, of course you needed a little Mike Wheeler to get you out of here. And I thought that was really sweet because that's a relationship that I, like, really, really put so much stock into, even though we barely get anything. And I was like, yeah, you need someone who's, like, not gonna give up and who's a little snarky, but will, like, push back when they need to. And so I
Mhm,
just love all those little moments of her, like, talking about Mike to Holly.
mhm.
Just made me
Yeah.
happy.
Yeah, agreed. When I heard that, I was like, I know who's living off of this scene.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a cute scene for sure.
It reminded me of what you said, because me and UV we would talk about that fight between Max and Mike, the argument in season 3,
Mhm.
which, I miss season 3, it was so wonderful. But what starts that argument isn't it when she's like, "Mike, can you just, like, stop pacing?" And I just thought that was a really cute callback to that.
Yeah, it,
Mhm,
it it was, and I think yeah, when we talked about that scene, we talked about how like I think how she perceived his pacing was one of the reasons why she kind of initiated that kind of argument and what she perceived his pacing to be. And I
mhm,
think what you see in season 5 is she's starting to recognize that that's just Mike, and it just really gets on her nerves. So, yeah. So this is the episode where Vecna actually uses Will, to spy on everybody, and he basically just uses Will to get the location
Mhm,
of Max, because at this point Max and Holly are on the loose, you know?
mhm,
He wants to kill Max, and he really needs Holly for his ultimate plan. So he finds, Max, and this is when we get a lot of Robin is a drug addict, which I found hilarious. I don't know why the military will be looking for people selling drugs, but they were apparently. And we get the Lucas being in the room, and he's like, "Hey, it's like time for you to make up, Max." The Demogorgons, the Demodogs or whatever, attack the hospital. They end up having to move down all the way down to the laundry room.
Which I had to rewatch. Hold up. My only gripe with like the Lucas scene holding Max in the elevator with the boombox, which I also love because I'm just like, oh, he loves her so much. But like when the Demogorgon is like in the doors
Yes, I know what you're saying.
and like he kicks it, but it didn't look like he kicks. And also like there's so many times like how did it not like grab its foot? It looked like almost like a force shield was there. I was really confused. I had to rewind it like multiple times. I was like, how
Yeah.
did it
It
get
stuck out to me right away. I'm like, the Demogorgon's face is literally like nothing but teeth. If you kick it, it should go like this.
Did he
Like
kick
it
the
shouldn't
mouse
just.
or did he kick the
Yeah.
body?
Yeah,
No, the Demogorgon is running towards the elevator with
mouth
head first.
first.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
it was weird.
I do think the CGI in general and something it's been like not as good as season.
I'm with you that it didn't make sense. But I was like, you know what? It's fine. I actually would have preferred if they would have just let the doors close as opposed to like a kick that didn't make sense.
Mhm.
But here we are.
Yeah.
So they end up going downstairs. They get the 411 from Vicky. Now Vicky's completely in the know. And she's like an added character. By episode 7, everybody's in the know. They get down there, they're like scared, they're hiding, and then, Superwoman comes to save the day. Superwoman come in her gown and with her patches on and stuff. And I told I told Cece that when I was watching it that the evolution was like, Mrs. Wheeler, stay in bed. Stay in bed. We do not need you right now. Just stay in bed. They're not coming for you. And then it was like, okay, let me shut up. We needed you out of bed. And I think right now I've noticed that she's only known for like 48 hours. And I was like, in her 48 hours, she's killed about 3 or 4 Demogorgons. Her kill count is high. All I know is she needed to know way before because she would have ended Vecna on her own. By next week, she gonna know how to defeat him. That's my theory. Is that if y'all give her the way Nancy be shooting, she get that from her mama. I think this is genetics. So I think Mrs. Weaver came through with another moment. But yeah, what did you guys think about that whole scene?
I liked the hall. Wait, how do you say it? The callback, not the hallback. The callback to Jurassic Park. That was cool.
Mhm. Yeah. This is
Um,
the second time they've done that. They did it in season 3 when Mike, Max, and Elle, my favorite trio, are hiding in the gap, and then the thing is coming, and they're like,
oh yeah, I forgot about that one. Yeah. And I I liked when they were like looking when the Demodogs like because it started to get cute again, where they're like, "What is this? What's this?"
"Oh,
Yes,
okay, so
they did
me
do
and you
that.
are on different sides with this. That's interesting. Keep going."
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting. It was a little cheesy when Karen like walks through like back through a zombie
I
through the
agree.
smoke. I was like, if she was able to walk to do this and still hide from the Demodogs, I would have expected a little bit more mobility, but maybe she was
Also,
running
girl, why
on
are you
adrenaline.
talking? You're like whole like whatever. What I thought about it, I mean, it was cool. Um, I'm always happy to see Lucas and Max. I'm always happy to see Lucas in a good light.
I
Um,
love how Lucas doesn't want to turn off that radio. Like, I love that.
it was very Mike Wheeler coded, which I've talked to V about how I think Lucas and Max are actually a great parallel to Mike and Eleven. And their entire storyline this season is a callback to Mike and Eleven's storyline in season 2, anyways. But yeah, I loved all the Lucas parts of it. Um, I, I don't know why the people that had to be with Lucas when saving Max had to be Vicky and Robin. That was really confusing to me. This is just because of what we've gotten so far that now I can say this stuff because like you're only giving me 2 more hours after this, so I feel like I'm in my right to say stuff like this. I feel like we're focusing on so many people that we didn't need to focus on. I love Robin. I do. I'm seeing in my opinion, way too much of her this season. For me, when I really want the focus to be on my kids. And then Vicky, cool. She's cool. Uh, Why are you getting more substantial scenes than like the main characters? So I always imagined Max waking up with like other people around her. I mean, obviously Lucas, but other people than Robin and Vicky. So that, I guess that's an episode 7 thing, but it was cool that they were there. On
Mhm.
my only issue is like the after, what it meant for after. Mrs. Wheeler, I feel like I like her. She's cool, but the show isn't about her for me. And since we're in the last season, I also felt like her hero moment could have gone to some another main character that I actually wanted more time with. So it was a
Mhm.
cool scene. The laundry scene where the demo dog gets a little like Scooby Doo ish.
Mm.
Really didn't like that. I feel like when you go back and you compare Stranger Things to the first couple of seasons, um, there was like actual fear with the Demogorgons. So there was like this real like I don't know if earnestness is the real word for it, but they weren't jokey, and
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
prefer that. I don't know why we're suddenly getting into. I think it just added to me being like, so the stakes are like not really there for me.
Yeah, I definitely hear you say that took you out. I will say it took me out too. It was like a callback to Dart and kind of like the idea that
Mhm.
Demogorgons can have like be kind of cute and stuff like that. But in that moment, to me, it did take away because I feel like I don't know something that was special about it being Dart, right? And
Yeah.
now you're trying to like it's not bad, but it was like they were trying to humanize them, but then you humanize them like 1 second before they died. It didn't really work for me. It just I'd rather you have just kept it like vicious and dark, in the last moment instead of making them cute. And then I'm like, what did you want me to do with that? I don't know what you want me to do with that. You want me to feel bad? Like I don't really know. So I'll just take that as my Karen scene. I appreciated that.
Can I say something about episode 6 that I did like? Because I feel like I'm being like the more critical one.
Mhm.
Not that we're not up, you know what I mean. Um, the Mike and Elle scene, I know they're not giving me my Mike and Elle. They're not really giving me anything. But I did love that in that scene, Mike was low key flirting with her. And like, it was just really in a really cute Mike way where he's just like, oh, that looks nice. Like, Santa has good taste. And I'm like, that is the cutest Mike Wheeler way to be like, I really like you.
Mhm.
And you're in this wetsuit, but I think you look great. So I did love that. I also loved like just the dialogue of that scene. Where she was like, where he brought friends don't. They're just so securely attached right now, and I know poor kid, he doesn't know what's coming to him. But I did love the let me be the judge of that of whether I can help
Yeah.
or not, and the friends
Yeah.
don't lie, and um,
Yeah, let's get to that. I was gonna do that after this part, but yeah, let's get to that. So we are in the house and at this point Will is kind of stuck in, in Vecna's mind, so to speak. He's being used to find out Max's location, which is why the demo dogs are at the hospital. Elle is gonna go save him. So she has the sensory deprivation tank kind of at her home. And usually in all the other seasons, she don't got no suit. We make her get in. We don't care if she in a dress, a skirt, pants, a suit. We just only person that's ever gave her proper equipment is Papa. The person that hated her the most was the only one. The rest of us, we just let her jump in. So season 5, she finally gets a suit. And the first person to notice it is her boyfriend. And he's like, oh, that looks nice. And did you get that from Murray? And she's like, yeah. And they have this conversation. You see, Eight is kind of listening on the other side of the wall, right? When they're having this moment. And as Sar referred to, they have like a sweet moment where like Elle doesn't really want to tell him like all the stakes that are going on and all the things that she's having to deal with internally because Elle's balancing a lot right now. It's like she has to not only find Holly, but now she has to save Will. And then, oh yeah, the experiment started back. And oh yeah, now my sister wants us to like sacrifice ourselves. And she has like a lot going on in her mind and she doesn't want to put that on Mike. And as Sarf said, he's like, well, like let me decide.
Mhm.
And I just thought it was funny because I was like, the more we see this show, the more I'm convinced that people who say Mike is controlling, it's actually Elle is kind of the controlling person in this relationship. She's like, I'm not going to tell you because you can't handle it, like you. And I appreciate Mike
She
being like,
hurts
give
from
me the
Hopper.
chance. She did, yeah. She gets a lot of this. She has a protective.
Yeah.
Her control is protection in its own way.
Mhm.
But anyway, that scene for me, I really enjoyed it. I loved how we had that moment where she's like, "This is not a campaign, and you can't write the end of the story." And he's like, "But we'll write it." It was so Mike coded. He's like, "It's not I, it's we." I really love that. I wrote that in my notes, and I was like,
He
"It's
so
giving."
a lot of people are like, why is he still being like he is like overly optimistic? I'm like, it's his defense mechanism. Like he's about to lose everything. Just let him fully give into his. I have some issues with like what they've done with Mike's character in the second volume, but not the optimism. That's so core to who he is. And honestly, in those moments when he's like when the other person is being like, no, like they're being down and he's like, no, like we have it, I feel it. I'm like, you do, I totally believe you, you're always right, like everything will be okay. And but I get Eleven's like battle with that though, because she has this big issue that she's trying to figure out. I am glad she told him and they
Mhm.
were honest with each other, because I feel like that shows their growth, that they're
Right.
not keeping secrets from one another.
Mhm.
The Duffer Brothers said the finale is like, who will 11 choose? Callie or Mike? Because they're on the
Mm.
opposite ends of the spectrum with like what she should do with that decision. So
Mm.
yeah.
What do you think of that moment?
Cece.
Mm.
I didn't expect her to end up sharing what it was. And of course, she didn't go into super depth, but even sharing what she did, yeah, I agree with you. Like, it was a lot of growth. I like what Mike said, like, let me be the judge of that. I loved that. And so, yeah, it was cool to see I can't talk, their maturity. And I wasn't expecting that. So that
Mhm.
was a nice little um, blip in
Yeah.
there. That was cool.
I think that was cool. I think Mike's being Mike, and I'm a little bit. I like you said, sorry. Sometimes it feels like, okay, are we being too hard in certain areas? For you, it might be, am I coming off harsh on the episodes? I think that's just genuinely how you feel. For me, it might be, am I coming off harsh to certain audiences? And maybe I am, but I'm just I don't know what people want. Like for me, it's like you guys want to be in a world where you have no optimistic people around you. You really want to go to war with nobody that believes. It's like I just don't get people. I don't understand. Yes, Mike exists. I'm a Mike. I'm gonna be like, no, we got this. Because as soon as everybody in the group believes that we don't got this, we don't got it. Like it's not rocket science, people. Like yes, there are optimistic people, and if that doesn't mirror you, that's fine. Like everybody don't have to mirror. It doesn't have to mirror you. It's
Well,
weird, but,
I'll
yeah.
clarify, so because I brought that up and I'll be quick about it. It's just I think a lot of Mike fans aren't getting, they just want a more expansive exploration of his emotionality, and they thought they were getting that in volume 2 and they didn't. And I think that's a fair criticism, that like they had Mike doing a lot in volume 1 and then suddenly he's kind of pushed to the back again a little bit. So I understand why they want to see more, but I think whenever someone comes for his optimism, I'm like, but that's not it's not a character problem, it's a writing problem. Like his optimism is what gets everyone through. Like it's necessary for
Yeah.
everything.
And that's kinda some of my issue with some of the rhetoric out here. I think people are misplacing their
Uh,
thoughts and stuff,
yeah, I agree.
which is why I think people are misplacing these episodes as bad because you didn't get what you want.
Mm.
You're saying something's wrong with Mike, and it's like, no, he's able to be optimistic. You just wanted something else, which is completely different, and you're mixing up all your emotions in one and are not able to, like, fully, parse it out. But, um, outside of that, we have the moment, with Holly and Max finally make it to the red place, whatever we're calling that place where we get to finally see the outside world. They get there. I'll let Cece get to how much it annoyed her because of its passion. But yes, we get Holly and we get Max, and they finally crawl through this cave, and then we get to see a little bit of backstory on Vecna. Then eventually they're out there. We see that Max gets to see Lucas there, and you can see she's excited. She like, I'm ready to get back to me and my boo. But Holly's still there. So she has to give Holly this big old speech. And how did that make you feel?
Immense rage. Immense rage. I just rage. Like, I couldn't even enjoy, like, people, I saw some, like, tweets or threads or whatever that people were like, "Oh my gosh, that was so moving." And I was like, "You were moved? You were moved?" Because all I could feel was rage, that it was like knees to chest, like, go. And we don't have time. It's not walking up the hill, it's running up that hill, and you need to go. And I can see how she wouldn't like, she's such a great character that she would have sacrificed herself and not she wasn't gonna leave Holly a little kid in there because she knows what that's like, so she was gonna
Mhm.
help, like, talk her up so she could see her portal, and, like, I get that now, but it was so stressful, I wasn't able to enjoy this, like, moment. I was just like I just just complete stress. So that's how I felt about it. Um, yeah. I don't I
Yeah, it clearly took too long. I was one of the people that really enjoyed her speech, but I was the whole time the speech was happening. I was like, "This is beautiful," but like also, we not worried that this man gonna show up. We not worried that nothing's gonna happen. But it is real in a sense of like she couldn't just leave this little girl sitting here. Like that would have been weird and out of
Mhm.
character to just be like, "All right, so." You can't go with me. You stay here, okay? And I'm gonna go, but good luck, you know.
One of
So, and then
my favorite
she just started running up that hill, and then you just see Holly in the background, and it's just like, well, good luck, Holly.
one of my favorite threads was, like, it shows just, like, Max with their hands on Holly, and you just see Max's facial expression, but someone captioned it, "It's giving, 'Sorry, girl, my man's here.'" Like, I thought
someone,
Yeah, but it's not. It's not.
someone
it's not.
photoshopped podcast headphones and a microphone in front of her, and I thought that was really funny because
Yeah.
that's what it was giving. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a long speech. It was a beautiful speech, but it was definitely misplaced.
Yeah,
I
I
don't know
think
why they couldn't have done that like at the cave or something. Be like, hey, just so you know,
yeah.
like when we get there, you're gonna have to figure out your own way out, and like her give that speech back when it was there, so that we could just
Yeah.
immediately start running up the hill.
Yeah,
But the stakes, I think they were trying to drum up the stakes.
but it
But
didn't
that took away
feel
from the stakes in that moment. That's why I'm like, they should have did it in the cave somewhere, and
Mm,
then like by the time they get out, they can just go.
I
that's
I
true.
think yeah, it just didn't feel I don't have a problem with, like, the speech. I think it was a little long, but maybe, like V said, if it was placed somewhere else, then I wouldn't feel that way. Um, Sadie Sink, amazing actress, so, like, she was
Mhm.
giving, the little girl that plays Holly, I like Holly, I like the actor that plays her. I think I'm seeing way too much of Holly, but she's doing a good job. It's not that. It's just that, um, yeah, it took away from the stakes. Like at every point, these when the stakes are supposed to be high, these people are having these really like deep, profound conversations that I wish they were having at different moments. And I know they're trying to be like, oh no, but like, when your life is like really at a dangerous place, but it's like, okay, but your audience, like, there's a reason why they keep they keep trying to get back the magic of Max's running up that hill in episode 4 of season 4, and they are failing over and over again. Because that is not something you can emulate. First of all, it was like magical and beautiful in its own way. Second of all, like Max didn't have this big speech and like we saw flashes of her friendships and her like
Mhm.
like there was just other ways to go about it because yeah, after like a couple minutes, I was sitting there like kind of annoyed that they were still talking. And I get the purpose of it and I understand. I just agree with you guys. I feel like it was misplaced or it could have been done a little.
It could have been shorter too, but I love the idea of Holly being like, it kind of has shades of Eddie, like this idea that I've always been scared, I've never stood up, I've been freezing, and for her to say like, no, you are a hero, and like her to be able to find that, I don't know. I also like women being able to access their power. So, the speech itself was fine. It just, yeah, it didn't seem like we were running from a psychopath. We also had the discovery about the wormhole. I don't know if you guys have thoughts on that. Just,
Makes
um
sense.
Made sense, yeah,
I
I
think they
think so.
wanted that to be their. We're moving to episode 7, right?
Mhm.
This is still the end of episode 6.
Oh, yeah. I think they just wanted it to be the big like reveal of the plot. And it was fine. I didn't. It was. I wasn't like, oh my god. I told Cece I was like, V guessed it like 2 weeks ago. You were like, what if 11 created a bridge? And I was like, so, it's fine.
Yeah, they kinda let us know a little bit of it, and that's fine. I think this leads to we'll kinda transition. This is a little bit of, 6 and 7, but, 11 gets Will out, of his situation, so that's cool. He's back, and then, we have the Dustin recognizing that he's wrong, which I think they keep giving us themes that Dustin is wrong. I think they really wanted us to know what I've always known. Love Dustin. but he is like a know-it-all, and he's really intelligent. I think sometimes when you are around people that are intelligent, like almost like genius level of intelligence, they can come off as know-it-alls and they can kind of carry themselves in that way. And I
Mm.
think it's cool that in some ways they are showing us, they're laying it on a little thick, but they are showing us that can like wear on people. So, they have him running up the stairs. I was wrong, all of this stuff, because Steve
Well,
was begging him to say he was wrong.
I
And
think they wanna show how, like, he's emotionally actually sometimes really unintelligent, and, like, that difference between that he's still the smart he was kinda right, kinda wrong, lot like, with what he found out, but yeah, I agree.
well, in his words, he was completely wrong. He thought it was a shield and it wasn't.
Yeah,
It was a
that's true.
wormhole. So he was just
He knew there
wrong.
was something there.
But yeah, he goes up the stairs and now Steve wants to be a hero. Steve's about to do that. We'll get into some of that Steve stuff
Later.
soon.